Okay, I'm back to show you how to finish this UK quilt. I have put most of my rows together, all except this last one. I showed you on the last part, we got to the point where we were piecing our blocks together that we had quilted into rows. And so now I wanted to save part of this last row to show you how to put the rows together. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then I'm going to show you how to finish off the outside of it and begin to cut it, because that's going to be your final step. So when you're doing your rows, once you get them together, then you'll just lay your quilt down and figure out, okay, where does this next row go on? And then you'll put those rows back to back, just like you did each individual piece. You will lay those back to back and go to your sewing machine, and you're going to do the same 3/4 inch stitch down through here, or an inch, whatever you decide to do, that you've done all the way around the rest of the quilt. So let's go over to the machine, and I'm going to finish this one so that you can see how I do this. The important thing on these is to remember when you get to these cross seams to lay them out flat like this when you stitch them, the top and the bottom. That's going to make your quilt a lot prettier in the end, and it keeps your machine from having to sew through possibly 16 layers of fabric, because it's already at those points going through 8. So I'm going to start right here, and when I get to, I'm going to make sure that next seam is lined up, ready to go. And when I get up here close, I'm going to lift my foot and put the fabric underneath it. And usually I will make sure that my needle is down in there, which I did not do that time. So you're going to sew right across that. And as you get more and more blanket, you're going to have to fold that up and put it over here to the side because it starts to get really heavy. But always line up your next 2 seams, and like I said, flatten out the top and the bottom. Hold those seams together so that your seams, as you can see like right here, so that your corners line up nicely on the rest of your quilt instead of being off. Alright, so I'm going to continue sewing across here. And when I get up close to there, I'm going to make sure my needle's down, raise my presser foot, and just tuck that underneath there. And then I'm going to go down here to my next 2 seams and make sure that they line up with each other and are ready. So you're just going to continue down the row doing that. And then at the end, make sure your end corners line up. And finish your row. Then when you're done with that, now my entire quilt is pieced together. This is the biggest one I've made. So it's all pieced together, and all we have left to do is the outside and cutting it. So for the sake of time and not having to go back to the machine, I'm just going to show you what I did here on the outside, because that's one of the easiest parts. I basically did that same 3/4 inch seam. I just started in a corner and I worked all the way around the entire length of the quilt. And again, when I got to this part of the quilt, I just lay those out flat and sewed right over the top of them like this. Come closer so you can see that. I just sewed right over the top of them and sewed each side down flat. Okay? So you're going to do that around the entire perimeter of your quilt. And then you're ready to cut it. I highly recommend that you get some scissors that are spring action. Otherwise, this quilting process is going to be hard on your hands with a pair of regular scissors. Let me show you how to do the outside first. You're going to come to the outside of your quilt, and I like to start at one of these seam areas. And what I do is, here's my seam. I will go to this side and snip, and to this side and snip. And then I've got probably about a 1/2 inch cut there. And then I will come to the outside of that and snip. I'm not ever going to cut into my seam. Never go that far. Always stop a couple millimeters shy of that. So you're just going to go down the edge and you're just going to make cuts like that. And like I said, with these spring-loaded scissors, it's really nice because it bounces back and you just go down through there and snip. So you're going to do that all the way down the outside. You're also going to do that all the way down every single row. And so every time you have somewhere where the stitching is sewn across there, I like to get up as close to that as I can and cut it and start there. And then just start working my way down through there, cutting. I'm going to do this side and this side. So we're going to go all the way down to there. Again, just being careful not to go all the way into your seam where you've sewn. And here I do the same thing. I cut on this side of that seam and on this side. And then I go over, you can see where the fabric comes up through there. I cut just to the outside of that. So it's going to look like that for right now. When you wash it, that's going to get all raggedy and be really pretty. And then if you came over here and did this side, you're going to do that exact same thing. And I'm not doing it from a very good angle here, but just to show you what it should look like. And again, go across the seam. So it's going to be kind of like that. And when you wash it, that's going to rag out and it's going to stand up a bit. And I'll show you in my John Deere quilt what I mean by that. You can see that they're laying down, they've drawn up a little bit, and they just look really pretty after you wash them. And that's what this one's going to look like. So it takes quite a bit of time, especially on a quilt this size, to go around and to do all of that cutting. You're going to cut all your lines that way, all of your lines this way, and completely around the outside of the quilt, just like I've done right here. And then the last step is to wash it, and wash it on a gentle cycle, and then dry it. And the more you wash it and dry it, the prettier it gets. That's one of the nice things about these. So that's it for the instructions, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when we're finished.